I didn't understand the difference at first, the difference between someone giving you attention and someone actually loving you, because when you've never experienced real love, attention feels like everything. It feels enough. It feels like something you should hold on to. My name is Elena. I'm 25 years old. And for the longest time, I believed that if someone was always there, always texting, always checking in, always making you smile, then that had to mean something real, something deep, something that would eventually turn into love. But I was wrong, and I didn't realize it until I had already given too much of myself to someone who was never really mine. His name was Marcus, and the first time we talked, it felt simple. Nothing extraordinary, just a normal conversation that slowly became something more. Without me even noticing it, he was charming in a quiet way, not overly confident, not trying too hard, but just enough to make you feel comfortable, just enough to make you feel seen. And sometimes that's all it takes, just a little attention at the right time, and suddenly someone becomes important in your life without you even realizing it. We started talking more often. At first it was random, just small conversations about everyday things, but then it became a routine, something I started expecting, something I started looking forward to. I would wake up and check my phone, hoping to see his message, and most days it was there, a simple good morning or a random thought he wanted to share. And those small things, they started to matter more than I expected, because they made me feel like I was a part of his day, like I mattered, like I had a place in his life. And slowly, that feeling turned into something deeper, something I didn't fully understand at the time. He would say things like, "I like talking to you," or "You make my day better." And those words, even though they seemed simple, they stayed with me. They made me feel special. They made me believe that what we had was different, that it wasn't just another conversation, that it was something real, something that could grow into something more. And I held on to that belief tightly, without questioning it, without asking for clarity, because it felt good. And when something feels good, you don't stop to analyze it. You just enjoy it. You just let yourself believe in it. We started talking every day, sometimes for hours, sometimes late into the night, sharing thoughts, laughing, talking about dreams, fears, everything. And those conversations became the most important part of my day. I started depending on them, depending on him, not in a way that felt unhealthy at the time, but in a way that slowly made him a central part of my life. And that's where the problem began, because I was building something in my mind that wasn't actually there in reality. He gave me attention, a lot of it. He texted me often. He replied quickly. He asked about my day. He remembered small details, and all of that made me feel like I was important to him, like I meant something more than just another person. But attention can be misleading. It can feel like care. It can feel like love, but it's not the same thing. And I didn't understand that at the time. I thought attention was enough. I thought if someone is always there, always talking, always making you feel good, then they must love you. But love is not just about being present in someone's messages. It's about being present in their life, in their choices, in the way they treat you when it actually matters. And that's something he never did. There were moments, small ones at first, that didn't quite fit. Times when I needed him, not just to talk, but to actually be there, emotionally, and he wasn't. Times when I would share something serious, something important, and his response would be delayed, short, or sometimes completely missing. And I would see him active online, talking to others, posting things, living his life, and I would feel this strange confusion, this quiet hurt that I couldn't fully explain. Because how can someone be so present and yet so absent at the same time? I started making excuses for him, telling myself he was busy, telling myself not to overthink, because I didn't want to lose what we had. I didn't want to accept the possibility that maybe it wasn't as real as I believed, so I stayed quiet. I accepted less than what I deserved. I adjusted my expectations, because I thought that's what you do when you care about someone. You understand, you compromise, you wait. But the truth is, when someone truly cares about you, you don't have to constantly make excuses for them. You don't have to question your place in their life. You don't have to wonder if you matter. Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months, and my feelings grew stronger, deeper, more real. I wasn't just attached to him, I was emotionally invested. I cared about him. I thought about him constantly. I imagined a future where things would finally become clear, where all the confusion would turn into something solid, something real. And I held on to that hope, even though there was no real reason to, even though he never gave me any clear sign that he felt the same way. And that's the thing about attention. It keeps you close without actually giving you anything real. It gives you just enough to stay, but never enough to feel secure. And I didn't realize that I was stuck in that cycle, that I was holding on to something that wasn't going anywhere, until one day everything became clear. I remember that day perfectly, not because something dramatic happened, but because something simple made me see everything differently. I had a really bad day. One of those days where everything feels heavy, where you just need someone to talk to, someone to listen, someone to be there. And without thinking too much, I messaged him. I told him how I was feeling, I told him I needed someone, and then I waited. I waited for a reply, for a sign that he cared, that he would show up when it mattered. Minutes passed, then an hour, then more, and still nothing. And then I checked, and I saw that he was online, active, talking, posting, living his life, just not replying to me. And in that moment, something inside me broke. Not loudly, not suddenly, but quietly, like something finally giving up after trying for too long, because I realized something I had been avoiding for so long. He was never really there for me. He was just there when it was easy, when it was convenient, when it didn't require anything real from him. And that realization hurt more than anything else, because it made everything so clear, so simple, so undeniable. I wasn't someone he loved. I was someone he enjoyed talking to, someone who made him feel good, someone who filled his time, but not someone he would choose, not someone he would show up for when it actually mattered. And for the first time, I stopped making excuses. I stopped blaming myself. I stopped trying to understand something that didn't need understanding. Because the truth was right in front of me, clear and undeniable. That night, he finally replied. Like nothing had happened, like my message didn't matter, like my feelings were just another text he could respond to whenever he felt like it. And I looked at his message differently. For the first time, I didn't feel happy. I didn't feel relieved. I felt empty. Because now I understood his attention was never love. It was just attention, something that felt good but didn't mean anything real. And in that moment, I made a choice, not out of anger, not out of hate, but out of clarity. I said, "You gave me attention, but you never gave me love." And he replied, I never said I loved you. And those words, they hurt. But they also set me free because they made me realize that sometimes the pain doesn't come from what someone did. It comes from what you believed, from the meaning you gave to something that was never clearly defined. And for the first time, I chose to accept the truth, not the version I wanted, but the reality in front of me. I chose to walk away, not because I didn't care, but because I finally understood that I deserved more. More than just attention, more than just words, more than just temporary feelings. I deserved something real, something consistent, something that didn't make me question my worth. And if you're listening to this, if you've ever felt like someone is giving you attention but not love, remember this. Attention is easy. Love is not. Attention is temporary. Love is consistent. Attention keeps you guessing. Love gives you clarity. And the moment you understand that difference, everything changes. Because you stop settling for less. You stop holding on to illusions, and you start choosing yourself. Thank you for listening. And if this story felt real to you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because sometimes the hardest truths are the ones we need the most.